Hey there. It is Krista Margolis back for some more live Menopause Monday. Hopefully we have a good connection here. If for some reason we don't, you can also find this on our Facebook Live. But we're here today to talk about, with our menopause, talk about weight gain woes. And this is definitely one of the most common complaints that I get from patients all the time. A lot of people sent in questions on this, like, mainly why? Why is this happening? Why is this, something that occurs during menopause or before menopause? And also, what can we do about it? So I've spent a lot of time talking about this and researching it. There's good news around this, and there's not good news around this. The good news is, wait, hold on one second. I'm going to pause here just for a minute because I'm trying to get this set up on Facebook also, and it looks like it's just having a hard time getting going. So just give me one moment here if you're watching on Instagram. I just want to make sure the Facebook people also have access to this. So I'm just going to have you pause here. All right, well, we're going to just hope that gets connected on Facebook. This stuff always seems to happen, right? When you have it all set up and then in the moment it's like, no, I'm not going to work. All right, well, I'll keep watching it, but we'll have it here also. Okay, so weight gain woes. Why is it that we, for a lot of us, are at our sometimes healthiest lifestyle during these years of perimenopause? Because we realize that we don't feel well if we're not taking good care of ourselves. And things that we got away with when we were 25 no longer serve us, and we realize, okay, I have to pay attention here. I have to maybe watch what I'm eating. I need to change the way I exercise. I need to think about my sleep in a different way. I need to take care of my emotions, all these things. We just kind of notice that we need to do a little better job with ourselves. But what is the physiologic reason? What is happening with weight gain at menopause? It is definitely a real thing. So a lot of women, when I teach the perimenopause class, where there's usually a group of women, it's at least 85% of the people that have this complaint or notice this issue. And it's frustrating. And sometimes it helps to know, first of all, you're not alone. 100% not alone. This is a really common complaint. Number two, there are actual physiologic reasons that this is happening. And there's a few different reasons, but there's kind of three that I like to start out with, just in kind of helping people understand why this is happening. Because people will say, I am eating healthier than I've ever eaten. Like I'm actually paying attention. I'm eating the good fats and watching my sugar and all these things. And I'm exercising and I'm still either gaining weight or not losing weight. So one of the main reasons, and I'm just going to pause you again for 1 minute here. My Facebook feed is still not happening, and I'm not sure why. So sorry about this. Just again, give me a minute here. It just seems to be pausing and not doing it. So I apologize if you're maybe trying to get here on Facebook and it's just not doing it. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm sorry. I may have to go back to look at that again and see what happens. Okay. So one of the main kind of physiologic reasons for weight changes, weight gain. Sometimes it's a gain, sometimes it's a different distribution of weight. So in other words, it's around the middle. Usually belly fat is something that people notice. Three really common physiologic causes. First one is simply insulin resistance, and we're gonna hit this again a little later. And if you joined for the discussion on what we should be eating during perimenopause and menopause, we talked about this a lot. So basically, after many years, most of us, generalizing, most of us that have grown up in the United States and have eaten a pretty high carb diet, which includes sugar and alcohol, we've been having, your cells kind of reach a state where they just no longer respond to insulin in the same way. They basically get tired, is what happens. This can lead to an elevated blood sugar, blood glucose, circulating, because there's not, like I said, insulin just doesn't do its same job of managing that glucose. And so there's a quick conversion of that sugar into fat. So that's one reason. Number two is an adrenal imbalance. We've all heard about the adrenal glands and adrenal fatigue and kind of what our adrenals do. Basically, our adrenals are these small glands that sit on top of our kidneys. Their job is to help kind of manage our stress, meaning they are responsible for releasing cortisol, for releasing adrenaline in times when we need it. So you think back to early, pre-modern times where people would have to run and flee from significant danger, or those moments where you hear of someone lifting a car off of their child. That is major adrenals at work. That is your body releasing cortisol and adrenaline. It's a giant rush of sugar, huge rush of glucose into your system in order to help you have that strength and that quick energy, that really fast, intense energy. It's that feeling when you get frightened, that fear, and you feel something almost course through your veins. That is cortisol, that is adrenaline. It's a good thing that we have it, but in modern times, we don't need it as much as we used to. That fight or flight. And what's happening is, in our world of a lot of stress, we're kind of constantly managing hectic schedules, managing this back and forth stress all the time. And we end up with an imbalance. We end up again with too much cortisol, too much glucose circulating, because we're feeling stressed all the time. So that same thing, those extra calories, that extra glucose is stored as sugar and converted to fat, oftentimes in the belly. And then the third kind of physiologic cause is basically a sex hormone imbalance. Hormone imbalances are the name of the game during perimenopause and menopause. And I don't always love the term, because imbalance sounds like it's something that's easy to get back into balance, and it's not. Our hormones are literally doing different things and changing every hour during this time. They're not as rhythmic and as kind of scheduled as they have been throughout our reproductive years. So that nice game of tag where the pituitary tells the ovaries what to do, the ovaries respond. It's not working like that during perimenopause and menopause as well, which is the cause for all of our symptoms that we're experiencing during this time. But basically, in an effort to preserve our fertility, in an effort, that dates way back, our body says, okay, I'm going to hold on to this extra fat around the mid-region. It's like a protective factor almost. And belly fat is a place where there are many estrogen receptors. Estrogen is stored there. So our body kind of thinks it's doing us a favor and helping us and protecting us, when really no one seems to like that extra fat around the midsection. And that comes from, that's a societal issue we have too. Being thin, we put such an emphasis on being thin, particularly in this country and in a lot of modern developed countries. But it's again our body trying to help us in a way. So knowing those three things, knowing that It's not something you're doing wrong. It is not something that's super easy to fix, but there are ways we're going to talk about to manage it. But knowing that it is our body doing what it's supposed to do next. So sometimes it's a matter of going, oh, okay, this is one of those changes that I'm going to have to kind of get used to. That being said, there's a difference between just, oh, my midsection doesn't look the same as it used to. Well, it's not supposed to, but that it's different than, oh, I'm rapidly gaining weight and I can't control it. That's a different thing, and we need to address that if that is happening. And we're going to talk about all of that. But I want to get through those kind of three physiologic reasons that weight gain can and does occur during these perimenopause years. So that is the start there. And in terms of talking about this, we're not going to come at it from a weight loss perspective or, dropping pounds. It's more, I want everyone to understand the normalcy behind some of this, as long as you're still being healthy and treating your body in healthy ways. Because again, our bodies are not supposed to stay the same. I'm not saying everyone should be gaining 30 pounds at perimenopause, but our bodies will look different on the other side of this. But I do want to go through a few kind of myths around weight and weight loss and things that you just need to kind of get out of your brain if they are there. And I'm going to apologize one more time here while I go back to try to figure out why the Facebook feed is not working. And then I may just have to give up on it and just do Instagram. Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, I apologize again if you are on Facebook or trying to get there. Okay, so one of the myths I want to talk about is, oh, you're getting old, your metabolism is too slow. Your metabolism doesn't work anymore. Metabolism does slow a little bit as we grow older. Absolutely. A lot of times, though, it's our daily habits that we need to kind of look at. Another reason for kind of this midlife weight gain, if we want to call it that, is a sedentary lifestyle. And some people will say, no way, I exercise every day. But as we get older, it's not just about, oh, I went for a run or I exercised at 8 a.m. and then check the box, I was done and I sat at my desk the rest of the day till I went to bed. It's about an active lifestyle. So the way we're moving throughout the day, yes, a solid form of exercise is important, but how else are we managing our day? How else are we getting around during that day? Are we walking to places? Are we moving around throughout our day and not just being sedentary in one spot? So just thinking about that, as we are more sedentary, we know this, we lose muscle mass, and the pounds usually show up around our midsection. We know that stress is another contributing factor to midlife weight gain, oftentimes brought on by work and juggling family responsibilities and all those things. And when you're under continual stress, which I already mentioned, that cortisol, the release of cortisol sends messages to your brain to store fuel, which may cause you to eat more also. So just thinking about your lifestyle in terms of, oh, maybe I should walk to the grocery store. Maybe I should move. Maybe after dinner, I should go for that 20-minute walk. Little things to think about. But your metabolism itself it's not inevitable. It's not just, oh, your metabolism is too slow, there's nothing you can do about it. We can help our metabolism even as we age. Another kind of myth that a lot of people think about and are surprised to hear about is you need to eat less, exercise more. People think, oh, I'll just cut my calories in half and exercise like crazy, and then I will lose all that weight around my middle. No, that will not work. If you drastically cut calories and then increase the intensity and the amount of exercise, it will plateau or you will gain it all back. And maybe some people have had that experience. the calories in and the calories expended theory of weight loss is sort of wrong. Our biology evolved a long time ago to survive hardship. So when we starve ourselves, our body in turn slows down its metabolism and helps kind of work to keep us alive. So our bodies, again, are kind of ahead of us in some ways. You can lose weight by restricting calories at first, but as soon as you start eating normal, your regular calories again, it's going to come back. So just being careful about, I'm just not going to eat that much and exercise a lot, not an effective way to lose weight. Another one that people hear a lot is, well, everyone in my family is overweight. It's in my genes. There's nothing I can do about it. Genetics do play a role. We know that. But it's also about the habits that you inherit from who you're living with and from your family. So there was a study done that said that a person's predisposition toward obesity can be reduced by 40% with exercise. So if you're someone who is like, I grew up with obese parents, it's just the way my family is, there's nothing I can do about it. That's not true. 40% of obesity was reduced by introducing exercise. So, and then the last kind of myth to talk about is that low-fat diets are healthy. I think most of us probably know that. But I was in my 20s, in the early 90s, when the whole fat-free craze was out there. And I mean, I remember eating literally no fat for days. And I did okay with it because I was 20. That would never work now. And healthy fat is one of the keys, actually, with weight maintenance and with weight loss. Fat's a major source of energy. And so you always need some fat to keep your metabolism going, to keep that energy going. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about insulin. But those are kind of the myths that I wanted to get out of the way first. And then move into talking more and more about kind of some establishing healthy weight and thinking about this in terms of getting older and going through menopause. And I do see a question here. Someone asked my thoughts on HRT. So HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. My thoughts are that it can be great. It can be really, really, for the right person and the right amount of time, hormone replacement therapy can be amazing. Years ago, prior to 2002, I think was when the big Women's Health Initiative study came out, and there was kind of a cookie cutter approach prior to that. It was, you're in menopause, here are your hormones, take your hormones. What we learned during that study is that that's not how we should be approaching this. There are definite advantages and definite risks, and risks and benefits of taking hormones. And the takeaway from that major study that was stopped halfway through because of things happening with women was smallest dose possible for shortest time possible if you and your family history allow for it. Meaning a woman with a personal history of breast cancer, possibly with a strong family history of breast cancer, is not going to be a candidate for hormones. So this is a conversation to have personally with your provider. If you are someone who is eligible, who isn't, where hormones are not contraindicated, they can make a huge difference in your quality of life, in your menopausal symptoms. They can be really great. And I will be talking in a little bit. There's actually, I might as well just jump to that now, but some studies have shown that women in menopause who do use estrogen sometimes will have less abdominal fat than women who do not, because of what I said earlier, how our body tries to hold on to that estrogen. There are estrogen receptors in our belly fat, and because we're low in estrogen, our body says, hey, I can hold on to it right here and keep these organs protected. Well, if we're taking estrogen, our body doesn't tend to do that as much. We don't need all those the estrogen that is found in the belly fat. So I am not saying if you don't want to have belly fat, just take a bunch of estrogen. That is not what I'm saying. But there have been studies that show that maybe that has been the case with some women. So I don't know if that answers the question on HRT, but it's definitely worth a conversation if you're interested. If you're a woman who is going through this process and you don't have any, you're kind of like, nah, I don't know. Am 49 years old and I've missed a few periods and I maybe don't sleep as well at night, or you're having a few symptoms, but you're managing just fine. You probably don't need hormone replacement therapy. But if you're someone who's like, I sleep 3 hours a night, my night sweats are so bad that I can't sleep, therefore I am foggy and completely out of it during the day, I can't focus on work, I eat worse because we tend to eat worse when we're sleep deprived. I'm crabby, all those effects, and it's cumulative. You might be someone that would really benefit from hormones for a while. So that's a great conversation to have with your provider for sure. I think there are definite benefits and there are definite risks to hormones. Okay, so we're gonna move to, let's see here. Just kind of some ways to think about establishing a healthy weight. Some of these might seem like, duh, I've heard this 1,000 times. It's kind of cliche or whatever, but I still want to go through them because everyone's at a different place with this and a different starting point. So think about finding your set point. And by that, it means, there's usually everyone's set point is a range within about 10 or 20 pounds. It's within that weight range that your body is programmed to kind of function optimally and where you'll be comfortable. The set point theory states that your body will fight to maintain that weight range. Your metabolism will slow down when you go under your body's set point, and your metabolism might increase if you go above your set point. So you really, in order to do this, need to listen to your body, eat normally, exercise moderately. Set points can also change over time due to poor nutrition, too much yo-yo dieting, restricting calories, doing this, trying this. Stress and lack of sleep can also affect that. If you're struggling to lose or to gain weight during this, during the perimenopausal transition, you can get back to your body's set point. So it's really kind of knowing, if you had a point in life, if you're not where you feel comfortable right now, when were you comfortable? What was that weight where your body was realistically kind of at its best? Again, not what the magazines tell us, not, if someone is 5'9", you should not be striving for 115 pounds. I mean, you have to kind of look at a healthy body mass index, a healthy BMI. Realistically, what is that set point for you? Because a lot of women put a number in their mind that's not only hard to attain, but it's not healthy. So kind of figuring that out. And if you need help figuring out what a healthy BMI is, you can talk to your provider. You can also go online, find your height, figure out, okay, to be in this normal BMI range, roughly where do I need to be with my weight? Another way to think about establishing healthy weight is eating healthy fats. We touched on this a little bit ago, but I'll say it again. We need them, and we need them in order to maintain a healthy weight. People hear that word fat and think of something different. Again, I think most of us in 2021 understand this, but not always. I still know people that will say, oh, but you should buy fat-free. You should always have skim milk and fat-free yogurt. No, I do not agree with that. So by eating, if you follow the low-fat, kind of high-carbohydrate diet that has been recommended, from our governmental agencies before, it's going to, if you follow that, you, again, not going to be able to lose weight, and there's no wonder why. That will elicit an insulin response that will cause you to feel hungrier and crave more carbohydrates. Instead of getting full, like I said, fats are satiating. They provide that ability for you to actually feel more full. So limiting carbohydrates, adding healthy fats, help you feel full for longer. And they improve cellular functioning and good cell-to-cell communication. So, don't, when you have your fat-free salad dressing, I would say get rid of it. Use some olive oil, something with some good, healthy fat in it. Fatty fish, nuts, seeds, those are really good, healthy fats. Avocados, there are definitely ways to get a healthy fat into your diet. It's not too challenging. Okay. And let's see, another one that I see a lot of women that don't do this, and I've definitely noticed a difference personally in adding this in, it's strength training. A lot of us think, well, if I'm walking or running or biking a lot, that's enough. That's great. The cardiovascular, that kind of training is, we know, important. Getting our heart rate up, sweating, it's really important for our cardiovascular health, but we absolutely need strength training, weights. And we know that we lose a little bit of muscle mass in during this time phase and can gain a little bit of fat. But the way that fat is distributed in our body changes with more settling around our middle, like we've said. We know that muscle burns more fuel than fat. So the less muscle you have, the slower your metabolism. Again, we all know this. Resistance training is a great way to increase muscle mass and therefore also increase your metabolism. Lifting weights is one way, and there are, a million ways to do this. If you belong to a gym, you have access. You don't have to belong to a gym. You can buy weights for relatively cheap at Target. There are a bajillion programs online that you can find, or schedule a one-time, maybe personal training session and learn how to do things, and then have your own program. The body weight workouts are also effective, but actually resistance training with weights, kettlebells, that kind of thing is really shown to be helpful in this area. Pilates and yoga are also great ways to increase muscle. And like I said, just body weights, body strength stuff at home, lunges, push-ups, those things where you don't need equipment, but you're using some kind of strength resistance. And you want to aim for about an hour or two every week. So it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be all the time. Definitely doesn't have to be daily. You just want to be hitting some of your major muscle groups a good couple times a week. Okay. And then moving on. Okay. We know that and I just addressed this a little bit ago, but we know that as estrogen, progesterone, and even testosterone decline during perimenopause and menopause, our body kind of gears up for storing weight. We've talked about this. Studies show that women in menopause who take estrogen therapy will sometimes tend to have less abdominal fat. So we talked about that. Sometimes supplementing with just a progesterone is enough to avoid that midlife weight gain. Sometimes not. And for some women, even just using some more natural supplements that contain plant hormones, which are called phytoestrogens, like flaxseed, soy, black cohosh, can do the trick. And we can, you can talk about that with your provider more. I've seen some women that just using some natural supplements versus going the whole hormone replacement therapy route is enough to help with some of the symptoms they're having. Sometimes women need more than that. And on that note, I want to address, hormone levels. I have people all the time say, well, I want you to check my hormones. And it's just a really challenging thing to do because they are changing not just every day, they're changing by the hour during perimenopause and menopause. Like I said, what used to be a nice, simple, regular rhythm of hormones for most of us, it totally changes. It becomes chaotic and zigzagged, and our ovaries get tired, kind of reject what the pituitary is telling them to do, and it's hard to check. So if we check your levels that day, but then 2 weeks later, things have decided to balance for a minute, your hormones are going to look a lot different. So to treat based on those numbers really isn't an effective way to treat. So I talk to people about that all the time, and we really do more go based on your symptoms. What is your body telling you? What is happening right now? Where are we at here? And we all pretty much know where we're at when this stuff starts happening. We're in perimenopause, shifts are happening, and we just have to kind of manage. It's all about managing the transition. It's not eliminating all the symptoms or fixing everything with one pill. It's managing where we're at so we can be our most effective, have the best quality of life as we're going through this. And it can be challenging, like I've said. I do, though, recommend, I check most people at this age who are coming in, I do check most people's thyroid, because that can get a little wonky during this phase also. So just something to think about. And can definitely contribute to weight issues. If you have an underactive thyroid, weight gain is one of the most common and almost inevitable things that can happen. So talk to your provider about getting your thyroid checked also. Okay, we already talked about sedentary, about getting off the couch. Everyone knows that. But like I said, one thing to keep in mind is that one walk you do in the morning might not be enough. It's still about moving throughout the day. If you are sitting at your desk all day, even if you exercise in the morning, but then you go sit at your desk all day and you're driving to all the places you need to go, and then you relax on the couch at night because you're tired and you deserve to relax, you need to think about building in some other kinds of movement throughout the day. Like I said, walking the dog or taking a walk after dinner, walking to do that errand that's within walking distance versus driving. Whatever it is, at lunch, if you have time, go for a walk outside for 15 minutes over your lunch break. Just be thinking about other ways you can move that is movement. Kind of plot out your day. Like, okay, what's my day going to look like? Wow, I'm going to be sitting from 8:30 a.m. until 5, and then I got to drive my kids for a couple hours. Where can you build in like a half an hour of just some movement? Even if it is watching TV, can you do some lunges while you're watching TV? Can you, any kind of incorporating movement is going to make a difference. So be thinking about that. And when we sit for extended periods of time, your body kind of goes into energy conservation mode. Your metabolism starts to slow. And we all feel that, when we've sometimes a really like a catch-up night of sleep, if you're like, whoa, I haven't slept 11 hours in how long? I don't remember the last time I did, but sometimes you're extra tired. I mean, your body's in that like, oh, we're resting, we're hibernating. Well, no, we're not. So just keeping that in mind also. And again, it doesn't have to be major movement. It's getting up, taking a walk around the block if you have a second at work. Some people have on their Fitbit or their smartwatch something reminding them to move like every 30 minutes. And it's a good idea because it's easy to forget. It's easy to get into your day and we're busy. So be thinking about that kind of movement also. Another thing to try for this weight management is HIIT training, high intensity interval training, HIIT. It's a really efficient way to exercise. It can help you to lose fat, gain muscle, and increase your metabolism. It also is great for reducing heart rate, blood pressure, and your blood sugar. So it's a really great way to train. And And it's also been shown to be as effective as endurance training for improving your body's ability to use oxygen. So it's just overall a very good way to train. And what it is, it involves like short bursts of intense exercise followed by an active recovery period. So one way to think about it would be, just a simple way to describe it would be running. So if you're just going out for a jog around the lake, well, during that jog, maybe add in 4 different intervals of pick up your pace by whatever it is. You don't have to sprint, but make it hard to breathe. Make it, run to the point where you can't talk during that run for a minute. Do that a few times throughout. That's an example of HIIT. So it's just, you don't do something fast and then just stop. You do something with this burst, but then the recovery is still movement. You're still jogging after you do that more higher intense interval. And you can, again, find examples of this and programs all over the place. So again, HIIT, HIIT. I'm just seeing if I have other examples written down, but I didn't. And again, the HIIT workouts are usually shorter. They're not an hour-long workout necessarily. They can be like a 15 to 30-minute workout with just those intense bursts. Okay, eating a healthy protein. I'm just checking here. Okay, so eating healthy protein. You absolutely need protein to maintain muscles. And for some reason, I don't know exactly why, women routinely do not get enough protein. It's just kind of an always situation. It does not have to be animal-based. It can be plant-based. But we need protein all the time. I always tell people, if you can, just so it's a way to get it into your mind, think about every time you eat, having something with protein. It's not always easy to do, but if you're going to have an apple for your snack when you're at work at 3 p.m., add some nuts to go with it, or a piece of string cheese, or something that is adding to that carbohydrate that you're having. Protein from your diet can help you, in addition to fat, can also help you to feel full, which again, in turn, leads to a healthier weight. If we're full, we're not eating out of boredom as much as we do when we're not totally full. So, we know that routine of, well, I just want some chips. So you eat some chips. You can eat an entire bag of chips. You're not full. So then you go back to the pantry and you're like, well, now I just maybe want some pretzels. That whole routine where if we go in and eat something that is filling, if we go and have like a handful of deli turkey and maybe a small little yogurt or some nuts, something that's a little more filling, you don't keep going back. You're like, oh, I'm satisfied for a little bit. So clearly that can contribute to that weight. Also, protein requires more energy to break down than carbohydrates or fat. So your body's going to use more energy during the digestion of protein and ultimately increase metabolism also. And then, actually, I'm going to save that one. We're going to spend a little more time on that. Staying hydrated is another way. We hear this. We all know it. I personally have a really, really hard time drinking enough fluids, water throughout the day. It has been shown that drinking 500 milliliters of water, so half a liter, can increase metabolism by 30%. That was just one study, but it was in the study, in the Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, and it had a lot of valid points. So staying optimally hydrated, really important. And it doesn't have to just be water. It does not have to be water. You can, go online, print out a sheet, go Google most hydrating foods, and you get a full list, and eating those throughout the day helps, again, with your hydration. And yeah, I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. It gets boring. I know water sometimes is like, ugh, but you can add lemon, you can add little Noon tablets, flavor enhancers, and just trying to, you can drink it room temperature, you can drink it cold, you can drink it hot, it doesn't matter. Or again, it's not just water, it's the foods that are hydrating. Okay, reducing stress. This is one, again, it's like, yeah, just reduce your stress and you'll lose weight. Oh, okay, that's easy to do. But we know that, this is like the third time I've brought this up, we know that when stress levels increase, your body produces cortisol, right? This can lead to an increased appetite and cause you to crave comfort foods. I'm sure everyone knows what that feels like. I mean, we all know what that's like. Stress also decreases, for most of us, our desire to exercise. So there's two whammies right there with stress that don't help us with our weight issues at all. Thirdly, stress can cause us to lose sleep, which we're gonna talk a lot about sleep in a minute. So you can't always control environmental stressors. We know that. We can't control, things going on in our world that are outside of our control. So there's always going to be stress, but we can control how we respond to those stressors. So are we taking it all on and trying to fix it all? Are we, kind of going crazy with it? Or are we recognizing it, acknowledging, yep, that is a stressful situation, and working on our own response to it? Meditation is a great tool for this. When you don't allow yourself to respond to stressors, you not only improve your metabolism through that reduced cortisol response, but you improve just your overall focus and health and well-being around it. So knowing yourself, knowing how you best respond to stressors. There's a million ways to do that. Yoga, meditation, mindfulness, taking a walk, talking to a friend, playing music, you name it. There's a lot of ways, and really kind of tap into what your best stress management techniques are, because that can make a huge difference in, again, you can't get rid of stress. You can't eliminate stress from your life, but how we're responding to it will make ultimately a huge difference. And kind of with that, in that same kind of mindful, meditation area, practicing mindful eating. We talked about this last month when we did kind of what foods to eat during this perimenopausal transition. And we all know it's become very routine in our culture to multitask while we eat. You're eating, you're over here typing, you're watching something, or you're listening to the radio, you're answering your kid who's asking you a question, you're responding to a text message. I mean, we all know how this goes. And that's not good. It's a huge mistake in how we are eating. You're much more likely to overeat when you're doing that. You're less likely to feel satisfied because you're not really paying attention to the food or the act of eating. Am I full? Am I enjoying this? None of it. It's just kind of a means to an end. Practicing mindfulness around your food can kind of help you reconnect to your inner self. Like, oh, this tastes good. You know what? I think I'm full. Maybe I'll have one more bite. Yep, I'm done. Really being mindful as you're eating can make a huge difference. I mean, we know for a lot of people, one of the main ways that they end up losing weight, if they've been trying to lose weight, is portion control, portion management. And it's not about, if you're really hungry, there's no shame in having a giant plate of food. That's not what it's about. But most of us eat well beyond our full point, well beyond. I'm totally guilty of this. It's not infrequent for me to have a huge stomach ache after I finish eating. I'm like, why did I keep eating so much? So a lot of people counsel on the 80% full practice. So really, again, mindfully paying attention to your eating and, okay, I'm starting to get that kind of full feeling. All right, eat a little bit more when you feel like, okay, I definitely have room for some more bites, but I'm satisfied. I feel full. Try stopping. Try being done. Put the rest away and see how you feel. And if you start practicing that regularly, does it make a difference? Do you notice that you feel better? Less bloating, less stomach aches? Do you lose weight? I mean, it's just, again, another thing to think about. And again, this doesn't need to be complicated time consuming. It's just paying attention, bringing awareness and intention to your food. And then again, eating it without doing 12 other things at the same time. It's hard. Again, everything I'm saying to you guys, I'm guilty of most of it. So I know that these are not all easy things, but putting them into practice can make a big difference. Some people, there's a lot of kind of craze right now, and you've probably heard about intermittent fasting. I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a nutritionist, but it does make sense. Everything I've read about it, for some people, let me rephrase it. It makes sense for some people. The theory behind it is just longer blocks without eating. And there's different modes of doing it. If we think about it, our ancestors, a lot of people long ago didn't have access to food 24/7. Now it's so easy. We have food in grocery stores. We have it right there all the time. And the main reason that it works to control weight gain is because it helps to lower the insulin levels again. So keeps our metabolism working in an optimal way. It can also help to lower inflammation, which is another huge contributor to weight gain at this point. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So if you're interested, you can talk to your provider about it. You can look it up. I'm not going to go into all the different types of intermittent fasting, but it is another way that people have really good luck with. And there's other health benefits to intermittent fasting also. Again, it's not for everybody, but it's something that if you're interested, you could try to learn more about. Okay. Another way to help kind of with weight management is supporting your gut. We've heard a lot about this also. Good bacteria keeps our digestive system working properly. We know this. And that also keeps our metabolism moving along nicely. So the number one factor that determines what's happening in our gut and which bacteria, good, bad, or otherwise, are living there is our diet. When we have a poor diet, full of processed foods and a lot of sugar and not enough whole foods, our gut microbiome can't do its job. This can affect the rate and the efficiency at which we absorb food, and can potentially lower our metabolism. So having a good bacterial balance in the gut is helpful. So you can achieve that by taking a good probiotic. And when I say good, I mean I'm not really a fan of the ones that are like 5 CFUs that you buy on the shelf in gummy form at Walgreens. By the time they're at home and off that shelf, there's hardly any bacteria there. You want to get a good probiotic at a health food store, either at a co-op or something like that, preferably refrigerated, because they're living. It's bacteria. They need to be kept alive, essentially. A minimum of, I say, about 25 to 50 CFUs daily. I'm even a fan of more. And then you can also think about introducing fermented foods into your diet. Kefir, kombucha, just watching the sugar on some of these is key also. Kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, yogurt with live cultures. Those are great for your gut, great for gut health. And then I think only got about 10 minutes here. I want to talk for a minute about, and sorry, it's kind of in and out here. Oh, I see a question about when is menopause over? The definition of menopause is, assuming you're someone who's still menstruating regularly, 12 consecutive months with no period. So everything leading up to that, a woman might have a period in April and go 7 months. And then 7 months later, what is that? November has a period, not in menopause, still in perimenopause, still in the transition. When she goes from April to April with no bleeding, that is the definition right there. So it's kind of a diagnosis made after the fact, I guess. So anything leading up to that is perimenopause. It's the transition. The average age in the United States of menopause is 51 and a half. I think that is going up a little bit. I have a lot of patients who are 52, 53, 56, who are still still not in menopause. But as of now, the average age is 51 and a half. Everyone is going to fall in that in a different way. Again, for some, the perimenopause transition is really noticeable. Things start happening in their early 40s. Other women, it kind of hits like a ton of bricks. That last year, they're like, all this stuff is happening. And then boom, periods are done. And then there's everything in between. So there's some evidence that we can, talk to our moms and sisters, and there's a little bit of, similarity there. But I've also found that it can be untrue in the sense that my mom had a very different lifestyle than I do, when she was my age. So again, what we're eating, how we're moving our bodies, all of that contributes to this process. So while there's some genetic information to be learned there, it's not a surefire thing. If you say, "Oh, my mom was done at 49," that just means that she was done at 49. You may trend a little bit towards that, but if you're, have a healthier BMI or a worse BMI, or you eat better, or you eat worse than she did, all those factors can make a difference also on when you will do this and how your transition will be. So I want to talk for a minute about another thing that contributes to our weight is sleep. And this one is hard because, again, next to weight gain, sleep is high up in the top 5 for sure of complaints I hear during this phase. It's probably sleep issues, weight gain, low libido, hot flashes. Those are probably the top 4 that I see the most. And the sleep one is really hard because we need sleep. We need sleep. And it's hard to be sleep deprived and function and make good choices with eating, all of that stuff. So getting quality sleep, we know helps with our metabolism, 100%. We know, science shows that if you're sleep deprived or suffer from a sleep disorder, your metabolism can likely be slower, as well as, these hormonal imbalances we've talked about. In addition to that, we know that it can lead to higher inflammation. So, sleep is our restorative practice. It's one of the restorative practices. It's obviously since the beginning of time, and we need it. We arguably need it now more than we've ever needed it, due to our kind of hectic lifestyles. We've been saying for this whole hour, we go from, our day job to various other demands throughout the evening, and often putting excess stress on our adrenal system to kind of keep going. And we know that with that, we get more adrenaline and cortisol pumped into our system. This going unchecked can result in higher inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation is the root cause of so many of our issues, so many of our diseases that we see a lot in this country, and also can contribute to weight. So we also know there are a couple of hormones, I'm not going to go into the details, but a couple of hormones that are affected when you don't get enough sleep. One of them is a signaling hormone, tells the body we're full. The other one tells the body you're hungry. Well, when we don't get enough sleep, they get all mixed up, basically, and we kind of get a little bit of sabotage. We get signaled, our body gets signals that we're hungry, that we need more food, and the other hormone that is affected keeps us from feeling full. So we've got kind of 2 things going against us when we are really sleep deprived. And I think many of us have probably experienced this, whether it's regularly or just kind of one-offs here and there from really poor sleep. You've experienced it maybe without really knowing the science behind what is happening. When you don't get enough rest, you're much more likely to drink caffeinated beverages, eat sugary foods, to kind of help give you energy, help you keep going. Well, we know this kind of revs up the stress hormones and packs on the calories. So the million dollar question is great. That's great information on sleep. How do I get better sleep? There's a whole, that's going to be one of our conversations in the future too on Menopause Monday is sleep, because it is big. There's really good information out there. Thinking about our environment, what we have around us when we're sleeping. We need to have comfortable clothing, really light clothing, especially if you're waking up hot. Comfortable environment, comfortable sheets. Don't have a wool blanket on when it's 85 and humid outside. Maybe a fan gently blowing for noise and for a little bit of air circulation. Maybe an eye mask to keep any kind of light out of your visual field. Keeping a journal next to your bed so that if you wake up at 3 a.m. and have 1,000 thoughts going through your head, you can just jot them down on a piece of paper. There's evidence that shows when we take them out of here and put them on paper, you're much more able to go, okay, I can close my eyes again, because guess what? That's there. It's not going away. Though that to-do list and all the things, they're not going to not be there in the morning. They're going to be there, but they don't have to keep me up because I reminded myself of what I need to do. Avoiding turning on phones, computers, TVs during the night if you can. And I even tell patients, don't even look at the time. Who cares? Don't even look at what time it is that you woke up, because then you start to obsess with, am I going to fall back asleep? When am I going to fall back asleep? If I fall back asleep now, I get 6 hours of sleep. If I fall back asleep in an hour, you go through this whole, that doesn't help with the stress that's going on in your brain. So we could go on and on about sleep, and we will another day, but really working on getting that sleep reset. If that's an issue and you're struggling with weight stuff, that can be very, very helpful. So I'm just kind of looking here. We never did get, I don't think our Facebook going, and I'm so sorry. I don't know why. It's just sitting here spinning and spinning. But things to take away from this, it is not uncommon to experience some weight gain / distribution changes during this perimenopausal transition. Working on all those things we mentioned can make a big difference. And we didn't even spend a lot of time talking about on actual diet, what we should be eating, but it was kind of sprinkled in a lot of the information we went through. Sugar is one of our worst enemies, yet one of the hardest to get rid of, but eliminating or reducing your sugar intake, reducing packaged and processed foods, which is a lot of sugar also. Those two things, just those two things can make an incredible difference. Adding in our healthy fats, making sure we get protein, whole foods, fruits and vegetables all day long, and then continue to add in the healthy fats, the vegetables, strength training, that kind of movement, and then also movement throughout the day. So avoiding a sedentary lifestyle. And even if you don't think of yourself as someone with a sedentary lifestyle, what does your day look like? When are you moving? How much are you moving? Can you add in 15 minutes here and there if you sit all the time? Those are kind of our key things that we talked about. And then again, thinking about reducing our inflammation, practicing stress management in order to reduce that insulin, in order to help our insulin move more effectively and reduce all that excess blood sugar that we can get from stress and eating too much of the wrong types of foods and not enough sleep. I think that is all we have time for today. Okay, so if you want to talk more about these things, you can set up an appointment with any one of us at Self-Tell OBGYN, in person or telehealth. We do both. Sometimes a telehealth for just talking about stuff is really easy. You can send messages. You can contact the clinic. You can, I believe, send questions on our website for the next Menopause Monday. And just let us know if you have any questions after this ends. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day.